Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm here to talk about depersonalisation and derealisation and how I overcame it, which it did take me 2 years, and that's not from start to finish of me actively trying to overcome it. That was just how long I had it until I realised what was actually happening in my brain. So pretty much it started with just a normal day. It was a normal day for me. I was just driving my car, going to work, and everything just felt off. Nothing felt real, nothing felt right. I didn't feel like I was inside my body. I started freaking out. I was like, I'm going into psychosis, something bad is happening, and I had no idea what to do. I got to work, I didn't recognize my boss, I didn't recognize my workstation, I didn't recognize anything that I usually would recognize. And that started to freak me out, but I still did the shift. I still finished my shift, got through that. I ended up going home. I didn't recognize my husband, didn't recognize my daughter. So I ran into my room and I started actively Googling, why do I feel like I'm not real? And it popped up straight away, thank God, depersonalization. And I still was not convinced. I was like, nope, I'm going crazy. And then it started listing things like, it's a disorder, it's gonna be there for life. Like all these different things started popping up, which made my mind go even more crazy. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have this forever. This is my life now forever, which turned out to not be the case, because luckily there was some ebooks and stuff that I tried and they didn't necessarily work. It was things like go on a diet, change this, exercise more. That didn't really help. I tried all of that. It did not help whatsoever. So I started studying into the psychological side of what happens with depersonalization and how people overcame it through psychological work. So I was like, okay, I can do this. This is pretty simple. So what was actually happening is it's stuck in your subconscious. Yay! So when you think about something so often and so frequently, and you really start to panic about it and start to worry about it, the pathways in your brain are going to get stronger. And the more you think and the stronger they're going to get, they're going to just do this and this and this until it's just a basic pathway. Pretty much like riding a bike. The more you do it, the stronger that gets, and it's hard to break down that pathway. But luckily, depersonalization is not the case, the same as riding a bike, because that's a motor skill. So that will stay there forever. As with depersonalization, derealisation, that doesn't stay there forever. Now, what I had to do pretty much is, for an entire 2 years, I was convinced that this was going to be my life. But once I started studying and understanding what was happening, that's when I had a breakthrough moment. I was like, okay, I can do this. And what I pretty much did is I learnt to love it. I learnt to want it to be there. Once I started not being afraid of it and going more towards it, I started noticing it would go away because I was going towards it. The more you try to push something out of your brain and try to get rid of it and actively keep searching, you're fueling it. It's going to stay there longer because you're fueling the fire. You're pretty much going, I'm still thinking about you, I still care about you, I still want you to be here, I'm still trying to get rid of you. And then it's going to stay there because your brain's still thinking, holy shit, she's worried about this, we need to get onto this right now. And it's going to keep throwing symptoms at you. Your subconscious is going to keep checking internally, checking externally for any little sign that it's still present. And if you're Googling ways to get out of it, if you're asking friends, if you're just doing anything at all, thinking about it, even on a subconscious level, when you're trying to not think about it and you're trying to go about your day, subconsciously, you're still thinking about it and internally checking for signs that it's still there. So it will be there. The more you push it away, the longer it's going to stay. Pretty much what happens with anxiety is, I can explain it in a metaphor term. If you're about to get on a roller coaster and someone behind you says, hey, the wheels on this roller coaster are going to come off, instantly your amygdala is going to take over, send a heap of cortisol. The logical and rational part of your brain is going to shut off completely. It will not work. So you're going to jump on this roller coaster. You're already on it. You're going to sit on it and your brain's going to go, we're going to die, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. It's just going to go absolutely crazy. And then the roller coaster is going to come to a stop and you're going to jump off and be like, oh, that was fine. What was I even worried about? What was I even concerned about? That was completely fine. Instantly, your amygdala shuts off and everything turns down. What it's called is an amygdala hijack. So when you go into an anxiety attack, you go into an amygdala hijack, meaning you can't think rationally and logically for yourself. And that's what happens when you're having anxiety. Same thing with depersonalization, derealisation. That's what's happening to your brain, is your brain is in a hijack. So you're thinking the absolute worst case scenario, that you're going to be stuck with this forever, or possibly you've even accepted the fact. That's even worse, to accept the fact that you're going to be stuck like this forever, which is not true. It is absolutely not true. I had it for 2 years and I don't have it anymore. Not even a glimpse of it. But what depersonalisation, derealisation actually is say if someone was in a traumatic incident, like a car crash, for example, they're going to tell the police they don't remember half of what they did. If they jumped out the car and grabbed their kids out the car and did all these things, they're not going to remember really doing that. If the car accident was traumatic enough, they're not going to remember doing that. What happens is their brain shuts off, they go into depersonalisation, derealisation, they disattach from themselves, and they just start thinking like this, bang, and they just get it done and it's over, the trauma's over, but they don't remember it. But the trauma's still there, but it'll come back to them in little instances. Now that's kind of the same thing with depersonalisation, derealisation. Is what's happening is you've gone into anxiety at one point in time, you've detached from yourself, which is a normal response for anxiety, it is completely normal, but then you've noticed it, and you've attached yourself onto it, and you've let it stay there. You've allowed it to stay in your body, and that's where you start Googling and you start trying to figure out ways of why it's there, and that's where it turns into, oh my God, I'm going to have this forever, I have a new disorder, this is the new me, which is not the case. So how I overcame it pretty much is, all I did is I accepted it into my life. Every single day I woke up and I go, I love this, I want this to stay, I am not afraid of you. I have seen you go away when I've been on my phone, I've been really engulfed in what I'm doing, and I'm just sitting there and I'm watching my phone, and it's gone. And I've noticed it, and I'm like, oh, it's gone away. This is a bit weird. This is a bit suspicious, but it's a good thing. I was like, okay, so it can go away. And when I had that little light bulb moment that it can go away, I was like, okay, so it's true that it can go away. But how do I do that? So I started watching videos and I implemented into my life that I want it to be there. So I lived my life as normal as possible, as if it didn't even exist. And I'm not going to lie, it did take around 1 to 2 months for me to start noticing that it was completely gone, that about 70% of my day I was not thinking about it. Because getting it out of my brain is easy. I can easily just go, oh, I'm just going to go on my phone. But getting it out of your subconscious is the hard part, because your subconscious is still going to be looking for it and sending you thoughts going, are we still worried about this? Is this still a concern? Is this still dangerous? Your brain's going to keep sending it to you until you send the signals back going, this is not dangerous, we're safe, it is fine. Once you start sending the signals back to your brain, telling your brain everything is fine, it will start to diminish. It will no longer have power over you. It will start to go away. It's done it to me. I've actually told this to a lot of people, and a lot of people, because I'm on a chat myself with a lot of different people, and I've told them and it's worked for them. They've started implementing it into their life as well, and the sooner, like, if you've had it for 2 months and you start doing this, then you probably only have to do it for a couple of weeks and it will go away. But I had it for 2 years. So mine was quite a lengthy process to get it out of my subconscious and to just continue my day. But each day, all I did my day as normal as possible. I would even write down little things that I was going to do each day, nothing to do with depersonalisation or derealisation. Don't put anything in there to do with depersonalisation, derealisation whatsoever. Live as if you do not have it whatsoever. You will start to notice week by week that it is getting better. The moment you start to Google, the moment you start to reassure yourself, the moment you start to internally check, that's when you're taking steps back. But taking steps back is okay, because it can really take a grip on you. It can really get a hold on you. And even if you have accepted, okay, I have a disorder, this is part of my life now, even if you've accepted that fact, after watching this video, try implementing what I'm saying and put it into practice, and I promise you'll start to notice that it does go away. Even if you have had it go away for even an hour, that proves it can't stay there forever. It's not a disorder. It really isn't. They try to label it as, they will label anything as a disorder. All it is a natural anxiety response that can go away. Trust me, I had it for 2 years. 2 years, I struggled for 2 years, literally thinking that I was going insane. I would even take myself to the hospital and tell them to admit me because I'm going into psychosis. That's how badly I had it. I was like, this is me forever, I'm done for. But thankfully, I am no longer afraid of it. And if I ever get into a situation now in real life, if I'm stressed out and I'm in a situation, say if someone's yelling at me and I'm having an argument, I'll start to feel it come on. I'll start to feel myself get a bit, dissociated. I'll get a bit detached from myself, and I'll notice it, and I'll be like, okay, this is depersonalization. This is a normal anxiety response. It will go away. And once I do that, I'll notice when I'm out of the situation, I'll notice it'll just start to go away. So now when I do get it, it comes as it should and it goes away as it should. I no longer obsess about it. I no longer keep checking for it. I no longer try to figure out what it is. I just accept it as a normal anxiety response and I let it be there and it flies away. If you want to follow my channel, that would be fantastic, because I just started and I know a lot about different tips, tricks, everything. What I mainly am really good at psychologically knowing all the different functions and how everything works is CPTSD. So it's like PTSD, but complex PTSD, meaning you've been through multiple traumas, more than one trauma, especially during childhood or even as an adult, and you've been through a abusive relationship, things like that you wouldn't actually understand can cause emotional flashbacks, which is when you have a huge sense of being back in that situation that comes out of nowhere and you are shocked by it, but you don't realize you have CPTSD. So I know a lot about CPTSD. I know a lot about OCD because I have OCD myself. I know a lot about depersonalization, derealisation, and I know a lot about trauma and how trauma affects the brain and how to slowly work your way out of that. So if you'd like to follow my channel, I'm going to upload daily videos on little tips and tricks on how to overcome things and how to work slowly through things. This is so exciting. I'm making a YouTube.